As this monetary policy report went to press, sterling oil prices were almost 90% above their levels at the end of 2020. UK wholesale gas prices were almost 400% higher. Wholesale electricity prices had risen by more than 300%. The UK is a net importer of energy and tradable goods, and the rise in global prices will inevitably both put upward pressure on inflation and weigh on UK real income and spending. Beyond the near term, and conditioned on a market-implied path for bank rates that rises to around 1.5% by the middle of next year, UK GDP growth is expected to slow to subdued rates. A small margin of spare capacity is likely to emerge later this year, and then to build over the forecast period. Turning to inflation, UK consumer price inflation rose to 5.4% in December, well above its 2% target, and almost 1 percentage point higher than expected at the time of the November monetary policy report. Most of the overshoot in inflation relative to the target continues to reflect the more general rise in the price of globally traded goods. Higher energy prices explain nearly 1 percentage point of the rise in inflation since September. But rising domestic cost pressures, driven by a tight labour market, have also added to the upward pressure on consumer prices, albeit to a lesser extent. Core inflation, which strips out energy and other volatile items, picked up to 4.2% in December. Inflation is expected to increase further in the coming months, peaking at around 7.25% in April, when higher utility price caps are due to be implemented. In the central projection, the upward pressure on CPI inflation dissipates over time. However, as global energy prices stop rising and global supply constraints stabilise, while domestic cost pressures ease with demand weakening, the widening degree of spare capacity adds further to the downward pressure on inflation in the second half of the forecast. Conditional on the market-implied path for bank rate, consumer price inflation is projected to fall to a little above the 2% target in 2 years' time and below the target by a greater margin in 3 years.